Okay, so today I wanted to go over what not to do if you're trying to avoid the fried liver attack. This is an actual game of mine. I am white, and I open with 1e4, opponent 1e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So if he responds with knight f6, I'll probably do knight g5 and go into the fried liver attack, because it's a fun opening, right? And we talked about it in my first video online on YouTube. The opponent makes a very strange move now, h6. So he looks like he's trying to avoid any knight g5 stuff. He really does not want to get into the fried liver. But there are a lot of other ways to avoid it. Namely, just don't move knight f6. You can develop your bishop, bishop c5. You can move your pawn d6. You can do pretty much anything and still avoid the fried liver as long as it's not knight f6. But for some reason he wants to really overprotect the g5 square, and I'm going to try to punish him for that. So immediately, I'm just going to start moving in and attacking. So d4, I'll let him take. I don't need the pawn back right now. I just want to develop a nice strong attack against him. So castle, which sort of provokes him to defend that pawn. If I'd just taken it back with a knight, I'd still be in good shape. But now I've provoked a move that I sort of wanted to provoke. I wanted him to defend that pawn. And now that he's defended that pawn, I have some aggressive means of trying to make use of that. So c3 now, trying to get him to take another pawn. And so what happens if he takes another pawn? Well, we can just go through the game and see exactly what I did. So he takes the pawn, and this is where the tricky bishop takes f7 check comes in. So all of his attempts to avoid any kind of gambit or any kind of aggressive attack failed because there are other means available, especially when you move something so passive as h6. Sure, the fried liver is dangerous, and I think like another commentator, the Chess Vids, said, really it's not winning for white. In fact, most annotators often say it's dubious. Generally tends to win for me, but I'm at a lot lower of a level of chess. But still, like, you don't have to defend the fried liver by moving h6. The queen already defends the g5 square. And if you move h6, you just put yourself further and further behind in development, which means I can do stuff like this. Okay, so now if king were to take the bishop, then I have queen d5 check, and I can win his black bishop, and then put him in check again, and then win the pawn on c3. So I'm going to be even material with hyper accelerated development, and his king is going to be wide open in the open if he takes the bishop. But he should probably take the bishop because this isn't any better for him, king to f8. And so here, okay, I'll just develop freely, and I'll keep the offer on the table. He can still take the bishop with another loss of tempo if he wants to. That's perfectly fine with me. He still refuses, and now instead defends his bishop on c5, which was the subject of attack, if he didn't do anything. And so okay, alright, so the whole little trap here isn't any good anymore. I'm just going to retreat the bishop. And the rest of this game really isn't showcasing much other than I have a dominating position now. Because he already pretty much lost a lot of time with h6 earlier. And when he was a little bit greedy maybe, trying to hold on to those pawns, I was able to still put out an aggressive attack. So I'll just kind of go through these moves slowly. The winning move, I think, was Oh, I think knight h4 here instead of the other knight moving, or even knight h4 here would have won. Um, but yeah, or I mean knight h4 here again. Like I still could have moved in knight h4 and then queen to f3, and I'm basically threatening checkmate, and he's got to sack at least a piece to avoid mate. Um, and so like in the game itself, this is another one of those 45-45 long games. And in the game itself, I thought for about 10 minutes here, looking at knight h4, looking at then queen h5, threatening mate, and then I see, okay, well he can move queen e8 and defend, and I'm not really getting anything. But for some reason, for some inexplicable reason, I just missed queen f3, um, queen f3 check, and there's really nothing he can do except try to block it with a piece and then get down a piece for a winning endgame for me. So I really missed the win already right here. So I just have the better position rather than a winning position. Then I went ahead and developed rook e1. But everything here is still okay, so I'm just going to win positionally. Now I guess I'll just put my two bishops on very nice long diagonals. Right here on b2 and on d5, so they're covering everything, going like just daggers into the king side. He makes a good move there. Rather than keep the bishop on h5, give me even g4, which probably would be fine for me. I would be now pawn storming as well as attacking with pieces. He decides to set up a trade of these bishops because this is a really dangerous bishop. So good move. We trade bishops. And now I'm set to double rooks or make a battery on the d file. So I have some options with this rook move. Though in the end I was disappointed with it and moved it again after I realized I liked it in a better square. Yeah, these are all sort of just moves where I realize I have my pieces in the wrong spot. So I'm just reorganizing, regrouping, putting them where they belong. I just don't want to give him any counterplay, so rook to e3 to defend the knight in case he wants to sack his rook on f3, and then queen takes h3 with maybe a dangerous attack. I don't think there's anything there, but I don't want to give him anything. And now I can push my pawn, and this, I think I'm leading to a really strong finish here. So he's going to try to stop that, and now I have queen d5 check. And he only has one move that doesn't lose. Maybe you want to pause and see if you can find it and take a look. Okay, so that one move I believe is rook e6. He's still probably going to be in a bad spot, but because he just retreats his king to h7, I've got a forced win now. e6. Basically like a fork. I'm attacking his queen, but I'm also attacking his knight, and the queen is the only defender, and the square it's on currently is the only place where it can defend. So now he just tries to trade queens, but it's not going to work because my pawn is now on the 7th rank, where it can do really bad stuff. At this point I probably should have taken pawn takes e8, but I figured I was totally won anyway, and didn't really take much time on this move and just took e8, but he resigned in any case at this point because he's just way down on material, and I've got a perfectly winning game at this point. So anyway, the point of the video was all about that early h6 move, and how if you want to avoid the fried liver, there are other ways to do it, and maybe I'll go over some videos about that, or maybe trying to refute the fried liver attack, rather than this passive early h6 that doesn't accomplish anything and just gets you way behind in development, which then puts you behind in the game. Anyway, this is my example game, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for